So, Professor Doyle, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. It's honored to have the opportunity to talk with you about
Wonderful. I've been looking forward to this. When I talked to you for the first time, I did feel that your book is an interesting work that would like to have you to talk about on the program. But yeah, before we get to start to talk about the book in particular, I do understand that you are currently running the World Studies Interdisciplinary program with Professor Mwangi.
Yes.
So I would just want you to briefly talk or briefly describe what this program is about and how it can benefit the student community out there.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, so the World Studies Interdisciplinary Project, which we refer to as a WSIP, it began about 10 years ago, and it has a knowledge transformation dimension, and then more recently an institutional dimension, institutional change having to do with curriculum and teaching. So it all started over a cup of coffee in a coffee shop. Mwangi and I were marveling at the persistence of the framework of modernity and the periodizations of pre-modern and modern, despite all the work that had been done and the discussions of multiple modernities and all the historical work on earlier periods. And we felt that this remained a problem of deeply embedded Eurocentrism and of androcentrism, though we were really focused on the Eurocentrism initially. And so we just had the idea that we should bring together scholars from different disciplines, different regions, and working on different periods, and including the so-called pre-modern and the modern, and have them in the same room talking to each other and see what that did to this stubborn paradigm. And so happily, the Mellon Foundation saw fit to help us do this work. So we did receive a grant for a Sawyer seminar. So it was a year-long series of sort of think tank seminars where different scholars came together, and we began to talk. So we were all coming from different corners, and we were all speaking in English, so that's always a limit. But people were bringing different perspectives out of different languages, different histories, and different disciplinary approaches. But again, strikingly, most people understood perfectly well right away when you talked about modernity and roughly sharing an idea that it coincides with the rise of European hegemony, and so did everything modern is the implication, even though people are critical of that is still a very common frame of reference. So out of those conversations, I'll mention just two things. One, it was interesting to us that when we first turned to UMass for an early, smaller seminar, and we described what we were trying to do, and they were quite interested, and they said, so what's your product? And we said, the conversation is the product, that is the event. Much to our surprise, they agreed, and they gave us some significant funding for the first meeting. That laid a seed of us later doing the more institutional part of the project. So just a sort of foreshadowing of that. In any case, the conversations were amazing. Everyone continually commented on how much they were learning. Everyone also commented on the effects of talking across disciplines and the reflexivity it engendered in terms of seeing more clearly the assumptions and the practices embedded in one's own discipline. So it started to loosen up and dismantle some of the habits of disciplinary thought, and also in relationship to this question of modernity. So we now have almost complete a 3-volume edited collection. We didn't predict a product, but we eventually,
That's good.
about 8 years later, do have one. We have the final essays. And so that is called Decolonial Reconstellations Towards an Ethical Global Studies. And we hope that it helps with the work of making clearer the problem of the modernity paradigm. And just to say quickly that one of the things that is clear when you actually read the scholarship on places outside Europe before and after 1500 or 1600, whatever the marker you have is, that, where what's clear is that all the things that are considered markers of modernity are in place. So large sophisticated states with bureaucracies, laws, and structures of knowledge building, also codes and relations in diplomacy, trade with other states, or small polities, the learning, the arts, sophisticated architecture, science knowledge that undergirded their engineering projects, of which there were many, port building, water engineering, all of these things are in place, as are debates over ideas, questionings, all the things that one might associate with modernity exist before the rise of Europe. So what if you take that seriously and bring it into your picture, and you just do the experiment of not using the word modern or pre-modern, what changes? What continuities, but also different ruptures? Where does capitalism come into this picture? What is the situation of women in these different states? So there are many differences that also shed light on the present. We did all this work with our eye on the contemporary moment.
Wonderful.
It was not antiquarian, just to not that it's not valuable, but it wasn't just there was earlier good stuff or problematic stuff or whatever you might want to say, but how is this affecting our present? How does it affect conflicts today? So that is that intellectual project, ongoing. The experience has been amazing for all of us, I think, just in terms of learning to do collaborative thinking, learning how knowledge emerges from these dialogues. So the more institutional part of that project is, again, thank you both UMass and the Mellon Foundation.
Oh, wonderful.
So now we have a grant to launch a graduate certificate program in global decolonial global studies.
And this is going to start this.
That grant started last year. This is our year of conceiving and designing. So the grant has funded fellows. It includes an equal number, roughly, of faculty and PhD students, again from different disciplines. After a call, we have pairs of faculty. Each pair includes someone from the social sciences and someone from the humanities who will co-teach a course.
Oh, nice.
And we're also bringing visitors who are activists or policy people who we are building relationships with, to open pathways for the graduate students, but also to channel our knowledge to them and theirs to us as we think about what's needed in a graduate certificate program in decolonial global studies. So we're meeting all this year in a series of seminars, doing readings, but now really starting to design syllabi, and we hope that the certificate first courses will be taught next year, and then the official launch will be the year after of the certificate program. So just the last thing to mention on that is the part of our project in this World Studies Interdisciplinary new initiative is to also address the economy of academic institutions,
Oh, yes,
the reward structures,
Mhm.
the competitive field of relations that are set
Mhm.
up between units and departments,
Mhm.
and try to seed new structures, play with the policies a bit, to, I guess I'll use the word incentivize collaboration, and also give credit where credit is due for the labor of collaborating on a course, so
yes,
that faculty get credit for teaching a full course when they are
Oh, yes.
co-teaching. It is not half the work; it is probably twice the work
Oh,
to
yes,
collaborate.
yeah, yeah.
So these kinds of things, we're in conversation with the administration here that has been very supportive. UMass has been very supportive of our work over these 10 years. And we'll see, there are things in place, the counting of how many students each department teach and who gets rewards based on that. That's deeply embedded in the institution, but the transformation of knowledge really requires the transformation of these structures. So because it requires collaborative, interdisciplinary, creative thinking together with others. And we hope to have our eyes on the future generations of scholars.
Yes.
So that's WSIP.
Wonderful. That is so great. And one last thing. So I understand that you also provide fellowship positions or awards to students,
Yes.
to different students from different disciplines who are into the World Studies Interdisciplinary program. So how is that? How does that work?
Well, that is thanks to both the Mellon Foundation and our previous provost. Because he believed in this project, they have together made it possible for there to have been, there's 6 full-year fellowships for the PhD students who are participating in the design of this certificate program, and 3 dissertation summer fellowships.
Oh, nice.
Whether that repeats in the future depends on many things, but we're very pleased to just have it for the building of the project. It would be very good if we can continue to be funded to make that possible for students. At least it would be probably on a smaller scale. But there is something that we've called a liaison fellowship that is would be support of a reasonable kind, but a more modest kind, for PhD students to work with an organization outside of academia in one way or another. Where we've talked to various organizations, including Sanam Naragi Anderlini runs an organization, the Civic Action Network. I'm not remembering the whole name of it right now, but in any case, some of our students will be attending some of the meetings. She works with, she runs an organization working with women around the world who are doing peace work in situations of conflict of one kind or another. And they have a series of meetings. Our students will sit in on those, and possibly do kinds of archival work or other kinds of work with the women who are doing this peace building work around the world. We also hope to have some of those peace builders appear online in classes. So the PhD students would start to have networks outside of academia, and also bring their work and have a sense of the importance of their research work for people working on the ground, activists and other kinds of people. So that is a fellowship dimension that would be more like supporting an internship.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. And obviously we are talking of undergraduate and graduate students as well.
Well, we are focused on graduate students. This is a graduate student certificate. It could expand to actually a certificate that professionals working in the field, again, activists, people working in various kinds of organizations, nonprofits. We do hope that there will be an undergraduate dimension of this, but one step at a time. We've learned things take time,
Oh yeah.
and slow cooking is better.
That's good.
So I will also just mention that we are writing a white paper on interdisciplinary collaboration in institutions. Interdisciplinary has been a sort of key word for a decade or so, and gets championed. And but again, we're thinking of decolonial interdisciplinarity and collaboration, and what that would mean for both graduate and undergraduate education, including through team teaching.
That's wonderful.
So that's the vision a little further down the road.
That is perfect. Thank you so much for that.